Now that we put y'all on game, make sure you remember who we are.
So let's talk about a use case where a payment processor who has processed more than $1 billion worth of transactions came to us with a unique set of asks. So it was all related to how they transform a transaction and be able to rate it differently. They were a B2C platform, which meant that there were customers who were returning their orders and they had to manage the transaction charging and rating accordingly. Like any payment processor, say equivalent to Stripe, they have different payment modes when they process payments. So the first ask was the ability to configure pricing based on the payment mode. So they had like payment modes like credit card, debit card, ACH, bank transfer, all of that. So and you cannot be pricing based on the same value for each of those different payment modes. So that was the first ask. Then the second ask was they also wanted to show this information to their customers. As in, when a customer does a transaction, they want to show what is the exact price that was charged for that particular transaction as a separate line item, right?
Got it. So managing the charges at the transaction level.
Exactly. Not just an aggregated invoice at the end of the billing cycle, but also at a transaction level. So this was the second key ask for them, right? So let me just note it down. The first one was payment mode, price by payment mode, right? The second one was transaction level rating. The next task was, as any large company has, they also had enterprise companies as their customers. And for those enterprise customers, they wanted to give custom pricing, right? And based on how much they use their product. So they had two types of models there. One was based on the number of transactions. The second one was based on the total payments that they processed, right? So volume-based discounts. Now the fourth was a unique ask that I just briefly touched upon during the introduction, which was what we call as the return to origin problem.
They also have another capability in their system, is it? Because we have now been talking about them as a payments management system.
Yeah.
But in digital payments, what is the concept of a return to origin playing?
Sure. A lot of their customers are D2C e-commerce brands, right? Direct to consumer e-commerce brands, and they track the end-to-end termination status of each and every order, right? And have a pricing model based on the status of the order.
Got it. So the return to origin signifies the their customers' return to origin and not the return to origin of the payment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So when their customers return some products, they don't want to be charging because their customers are essentially losing money on that particular time.
Essentially, the payment is getting reversed. So for them, as a payment processor, that payment is not a valid payment for their customers. So they want to ignore the charges.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this was a unique case for this company, right? And then one other aspect was, so like most companies use, say, external payment gateways like Stripe. But here the aspect is they themselves are a payment processor. So they do not want to be using a third-party system. Rather, they want to be using their internal payment processing gateway to manage all of their billing and payment collections.
So as and when an invoice is generated in Togai, we are supposed to initiate a payment flow in their system such that their customers are charged for the invoice.
Exactly, yeah, sure. So these were the 5 high-level asks the company came and proposed to us, right? And let's just dive into how we ended up solving all of these.
Let us take the first case, price by payment mode. So they have to track the payments coming in for their customers from their end customer and charge based on it. So let us define an event schema called payment. And since we have to track the payment mode and price accordingly, we'll define it as the dimension. And here we are charging for a transaction, so we have to also account for the payment value. So that is an attribute.
So Togai provides the opportunity to define your own payload structure. So any action that happens on your system can be tracked and sent to Togai as a monetizable event. And you can define your own custom event payload structure. So within a payload structure, there are 2 components. There are attributes and there are dimensions. Attributes are any values that you're looking to meter or measure. Dimensions are any values that you can think of them as a key value pair, using which you can apply different types of filters and groups based on, right? And then you can price accordingly.
This is a sample payload structure here. So the name of the event schema is payment, attribute is amount, dimension is payment type. Here we will have, like you mentioned, we'll have ACH, wire transfer, and so on. So since we have to price by payment modes, we'll have to create usage meters and filter by this dimension.
Here, when you're creating a usage meter, you have the capability to apply different types of filters based on the attributes and the dimension values that you've just defined in the schema. So you can apply numerical filters or string filters, So you can use JSON logic as a custom syntax and apply even complex filters to create your own unique usage meters that you want to track metrics for.
Sure. Here then let's say type as ACH and define the first usage meter. Second usage meter we'll define in the same manner such that we'll say wire transfer as the second payment type and define that as another usage meter A and B. Similarly, we can create a number of usage meters and these usage meters now can be assigned a rate.
Got it.
So this way we can solve for the first use case.
So that was one other aspect here, right? So pricing, say for example, in a credit card payment mode is a percentage of the transaction amount. Whereas for a wire transfer or an ACH, it is a flat fee per transaction. So how do you go about solving that in this model?
So let us say we have another usage meter where the payment type filtering is credit card. We have another capability in usage meter where we can say whether this usage should be sum or count. In the first two cases, since it is going to be a flat fee, you just multiply the number of transactions by the rate per transaction and you get the revenue. Here you have to apply a percentage for which we need the attribute amount. So we will say sum of attribute of amount from the even scheme.
Got it.
So this way we can apply a percentage on the total amount, which is just a multiplication factor.
I think that solves for both the pricing models that this company asked for. So let's jump into the second requirement, which is the transaction level rating.
So here we have to go back again to the event schema. In event schema, we have the ability to enrich the given event schema. Can you go in detail of what this event enrichment is?
Sure. So an enrichment is something that you can add as an additional attribute or a dimension which is not part of your original payload, right? So you have an existing payload that you have defined as part of the schema, but an enrichment provides you the capability to transform and apply math and logic based on existing variables as well as static numbers and create a new field which is appended to the event schema and then can be used further for metering and rating.
So here, instead of applying the formula only on the event, we will also consider the rating that is applied on top of that event and generate the value and store it as part of this event schema. So when the customer wants to see transaction level rating, they can simply export the event schema once the rating is done so that they can share that granular data with their end customer.
Let's just take to the next step, which is the pricing and the volume discounts aspect.
Right. So now we have to take a look at the feature which is in the price plan. So for each of the usage meters that we have created, we create a corresponding rate card in the price plan. So each of these usage meter will have a corresponding rating system built here. Here we have the capability to apply any type of slabbing.
We have two options to apply slabs to rate cards for a usage-based model. The first option is the tiered pricing model, where the price per unit is determined based on the usage that is applicable for that particular slab alone. Then we have the second option, which is the volume-based model, where the price per unit for the entire usage quantity is determined based on the slab the final usage falls on.
These volume bands can be overridden at a customer level as well, right? So as we discussed, the end customers for this company is large enterprise. So all these volume-based prices, slabs, number of slabs, everything is manageable at an account level as well.
Sure. Now next, I think we should go to the crux of the complicated problem statement, which is the RTO, return to origin. So how do we handle that?
Right. So here we have been talking about one attribute and dimension in the payment. Now here comes the complexity of managing the state of the payment. Typically, the payment status is managed only in the internal system. So the payment status would be payment initiated and payment completed or failed. In our case, there is an additional leg in the payment where the payment is actually voided because the order is returned back to the customer. So let us now go back and manage the state of the payment. In Togai, the payment record is managed as a payment event. So let us add a status value to the payment object. Here comes the ability to version the event schema so that your product evolution can be matched by the configurations in Togai. So let us say we add the status here. Here, when a payment is completed, let the status be tagged as completed and the event be ingested. In case there is a return to the origin from the end customer, this payment can be tagged as voided. In these usage meters, along with the filters, type of payment, we can also ensure that the status is tagged as well. So in all usage meters, we can tag the status to be completed only. So let us take an example of one payment coming into our system. Let us say a $10 payment is made in credit card first by the customer. So that event should be ingested with status as completed, which will be applied on the usage meter C, and revenue will be computed and tagged back to the event. Let's say the order is returned back to the customer. We can simply come in and update the send event from with status completed to status void. So this way the event will be reversed and re-ingested into the Togai system. Then again the filter will be applied. This status completed check will be invoked. Since this event now is updated, it won't match this filter and the revenue will not be computed for that particular event.
Let's go to the fifth and the final requirement that they had mentioned, which is that they wanted to link to their own payment processor. The other aspect is they did not want to expose this as a feature or a payment gateway to other customers. It's only for their internal consumption.
Right. So they are a payment processor, but they don't want to be exposed as a payment gateway in Togai system. Right. So here we can take a look at the marketplace that we have built. Right. Here we can add multiple apps, be it an external third-party app or internal app. Here, since they have explicitly said that they don't want to expose their payment APIs to all customers, we can create this as an internal app. So an internal app will be visible only to the owner who created the app. In this case, that internal app will be tightly associated to this payment processor's Togai account. In this particular app, we can create various actions that they support: initiate a payment, fetch payment status, refund, and so on. We also have the additional functionality of orchestrating various actions between Togai system and the external system, which we call as flows. Similar to private apps, we also have the ability to create private flows, which again will be only visible to the owner who created the flow. Here we can create a workflow where an invoice getting generated should invoke a initiate payment action in their particular private app. This way we can solve for the payment processing needs of this customer.
So this is how we ended up solving all of the problems that this payment company asked us to solve.